Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello. Good morning, Anya.
Good morning, Charles.
How are
Nothing
you?
sets the tone as a beautiful countdown. I was
Oh
just
man.
so looking at this and being like, wow, this is good.
Yep.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our stream. I'm Anya with Restream, and joining me today is Charles, and we are here to talk about live streaming gear. How are you?
I am great. I am great. I'm feeling good. Little asthmatic today, but feeling good. What about you? How are you?
Good, good. I'm super excited. Honestly, I'm super excited about this conversation. And as folks are checking in, I want to invite everybody to start letting us know where in the world are you watching from. And maybe if you also want to give us a little bit of context about what kind of shows you stream, like what kind of content you produce and create, maybe your industry, maybe the type of show, that would be awesome. This is a live Q&A where we're going to talk about gear and live streaming toys, things like cameras, mics, lights, all that, all those things that make you look good. So we would love to make this show very chat driven. We want to take you to the places where you want to go. So make sure you drop your questions in the chat. And of course, we will show you a few things just to give you like a little idea of the agenda. We are going to show our own setups. In my case, it's going to be Restream Studio, the newly rebuilt one that we recently created a video about, like a whole story. Thanks to Charles, we now know exactly how it was constructed. So we will show all the gear that I have here in Restream Office. That would be an interesting reference point for those who have the opportunity to build studios within their organizations. And then Charles will show his setup. That's more kind of like a home prosumer producer type situation. And then we will also talk about gear on budget, which is super important for a lot of creators checking in today. So other than that, and around that, feel free to ask your questions about mics, lights, cameras, any other pro tips. And of course, if you are a professional video creator and you have opinions about gear, bring them on. All right. With that in mind, let me go ahead and acknowledge some of our chatters. I see that there are people
Yeah,
checking in from Kenya, which is awesome. Hi there. Greetings from Birmingham. You should say that.
I should say that.
Yeah.
Birmingham? Birmingham.
Yeah.
Yeah, Birmingham.
UK. That's
Yeah.
awesome. You might have noticed that Charles also happens to be British. So welcome, welcome. I
I'm not a
see
reluctant creator, though. This is
reluctant creators. Yeah, we're not reluctant. We're just going for it.
enthusiastic creators. I am.
Enthusiastic
I
creators.
am.
Yeah,
I am from
awesome.
originally.
Sean from our team is checking in. He is loving our opening countdown. I know, isn't that a piece of art? Thank you,
That is
Dmitry, for designing
honestly.
that.
But I want to say that Dimitri, that's not AI. He made that.
Yeah,
Like
he did it. Yeah,
he made that.
absolutely.
That's
Yeah, yeah. And a lot of that is his photography. And we already brought this up, but he also writes music for countdowns, which is,
it's so
to me,
Vangelis. Like
is,
I
yeah,
love it. It's like
it's
makes
like,
me, yeah,
yeah,
love
very
that.
Leonardian type artist, everything. We
Portland,
have
Oregon.
people checking in from Fort Lauderdale. That's awesome. Hi there. Cheers from LA. Cheers. Restream Remix to Create. That's beautiful. Reposted from the number one Sim Racing Streamers X. Very cool. Legacy Radio Gaming. Welcome to the stream. Hello from Portland, Oregon. Grant. Hi there. And we have hi everyone and hi from North Carolina. Hi Becca. Beautiful. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and get started. We're going to show you a few things about our setups. And I'm actually going to get pretty messy here because I am going to show you what I have going on by sharing my camera, by actually adding an extra camera, which you can easily do in Studio. And
I should,
basically just
I
kind of
might
like,
do the same. I might just bite the bullet and just show you the chaos that I'm living in right now at one
yeah,
corner of the room.
absolutely, absolutely. Let's go for it. All right, so here we go. I'm going to go ahead and add extra camera. I don't know what this is going to do specifically because when we tested, it had a little bit of a trouble with focusing or not necessarily focusing, but just like zooming in a reasonable way. But we're going to own it. So here we go. Here is my setup.
Great.
So I'm just going to go a little bit further from it. Yeah, it's kind of zooming in. But yeah, hi, it's me. So yeah, it starts with a very simple kind of. It's just a table, right? Like it's actually the same table we used in the past. We have this wonderful big light, and we will add some links in the description so you can actually click and see them. we actually went for two different microphones. So we have this boom mic right here, right? And we have this mic, which is the one that should be capturing me.
I can tell you what they are. I can see what they are. That's
Yeah, so
that's a
this is
Sennheiser boom, and that's an
this
SM7B mic. Isn't it?
yes, exactly, SM7B. So those are the ones. The reason why we went for this boom on top is for situations when we have two speakers, and we want to have instead of just talking like this into each other's faces, which can get pretty fun and intimate, but we don't always want to do that. We basically just capture it from here. And the idea behind that was that we will also have occasionally the opportunity to maybe do some case studies, maybe just cover some conversations with our customers and so on and so forth.
You are making a really great point unknowingly, and that is mic discipline. As you go away, we can't really hear you, and we hear a more, because the software is doing more to boost
Yeah.
the signal to hear you, we hear more
Yeah.
of the room. So mic discipline is and the right mic choice is important.
Yeah, absolutely. Just real quick, the teleprompter, I don't necessarily use it. As you can see, I actually still have us on my laptop, but occasionally it really helps to just bring everything to that little teleprompter. This is Elgato. It's pretty small. I don't have trouble with it, seeing what's going on, but it's there. And right behind it is our Sony FX3, I believe, right here. I don't know if you can see it because I cannot see myself anymore, but it's nicely tucked in right there behind this monitor. And that is the one that's capturing everything. I do also have a few more lights. I have this light for hair light and then this ambient light. So, of course, our beautiful background with lots of interesting details, books, fake plants, and other things. But this is, and of course, we have this wonderful Rodecaster Duo interface, which basically allows me to switch between, it's so hard to manage this phone camera, between the two microphones. So right now my boom is actually muted and I'm using the SMP7. So we also have this additional monitor here. I don't quite use it. I just use it for like some notes. Like here, it actually shows a picture of my studio. Yeah, and with that, I guess I'm just going to go ahead and remove this crazy screen share. And
do you want me to show mine?
Yeah, you will be next.
All right.
You will be the one next. So I just wanted to like quickly wrap it up with like, so this is a rather pricey setup, right? Just the Sony camera alone is close to $3,000. Lights, microphones, all together, that's about like, it's close to $10,000 budget. It does give you this really cool look, and it gives you a lot of controls over what kind of lights you can do. I didn't show, like I have this little remote control here. So everything is set up such that I can just press 3 buttons when I enter Studio, connect my computer, and then one button turns on the camera and the lights, and the other two control my lights. So if I can go much more dramatic if I want to. I can go slightly warmer or slightly cooler. So this is like a colder, just the backlight type situation. But my preferred version is this, when it's kind of like warmer. And I do have my hair light, but I don't have a lot of like cool background ambient light going on. So this is kind of like, we wanted to create this studio to be like this Ferrari of, live streaming. We wanted to be our flagship studio. And of course, if your organization is doing podcasting, live streaming, live shows, live interviews, testimonials, events like that on a regular basis, you might want to consider that kind of investment. But there are many, many other options. So on to you, Charles.
Yeah. So, I have a list that I have made of equipment, and much of it isn't technical equipment. It's not gear per se. Like I've made a list of, I've got 13 things on this, and I wanted to just talk through some of it. The first thing, the most important thing, is a checklist, right? If you're going to go live, the last thing you want to be thinking about is everything that goes on with your technology. If you have a checklist, then you can just go through that and make sure that things are working. You can do it ahead of time and you won't miss anything. There's a fabulous book called The Checklist Manifesto by, I'm going to butcher the name, Atul Gawande. And I really recommend reading that book. And it just talks about basically the value of a checklist. That would be the first thing. The second thing is notes. Take notes on things. Have a notepad and paper. I have, this one's actually a Restream notebook. I don't know if you can see that. and I use this is a Delgard pencil. I like the pencil because I can erase it, and as you push down, it sort of has sort of a springy tip, so you don't break the leads all the time. I love these pencils. Use these all the time. And another good thing to have is water, so that you don't get
I every time this is the first thing I make sure.
And that
happens.
I have coffee as well, but I have to be careful about how much coffee I drink, because I don't know if you've met me, but I can be a little over the top at times. No one wants to hear that. Anyway, and on the subject of that, don't eat chocolate just before you're going on air, because it gums up your mouth. It's an old voiceover director's trick. So then we're looking at things like your microphone. Do you want me to show you what I've got, or to talk about stuff? What would you rather I did?
Yeah, why don't we start with showing, just like I showed like what I have here. So I see that people are already starting to ask some questions, and like we can just show what your setup looks like. And maybe it would be nice to point out like some limitations that you have, right? Like, so you have basically to use the room that is your living space, right? Like I have a whole studio, like this room is dedicated to studio only. There's nothing else. But it's not something that everyone can do. So let's see how basically you cope with.
Let me just add this camera. Here we go.
Yep.
Here it comes. Oh, okay.
I'll fix it.
I don't know how far I can go with this. Okay, so you can see in the corner of my room, I've got a light here. This is an little LED panel to give some color on my background. As you can see, I've got a giant light with a softbox. Maybe I should put on a different microphone and I can talk into it.
Yeah, we can hear you well. You're fine.
Yeah, you can hear me. Okay, I'll put that one away, because I can talk about the other mics I have. I've got lots of things on the walls. These are just old curtains, ugly curtains, to keep the sound dead. And of course, I've got carpet, rugs down. In terms of so I've got two screens. There's my main 4K monitor. Then I have a little monitor. This one, when I'm not filming, I slide it up like so that I can see it more easily. I don't know how much you can see of this.
Yeah, hold on.
My computer is at the back there, plugged into a hub, and I've got a little NAS, and I've got some internet stuff there. My mic is going into my Scarlett.
Focusrite, yep. We used to have that too, yeah.
It's a interface. Then I have some Yamaha speakers. These are lovely. I've turned these off because I don't know if I'd recommend these Yamaha H5s. They get too much interference. I have a shotgun mic. So you can see when I talk into the shotgun mic at the front, it's got ones, you can hear me. It's very directional. And then when I talk to the side, I'm imagining you can hear that it sounds different.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then out the back, I have my camera. It's reaching over there. I have a Sony ZV-E1 camera and a Neewer teleprompter with a super old iPad Air. And the iPad Air is running through a system called YAM Display, YAM, and that turns it into a second monitor, or third monitor in my case.
Yeah.
Is that? And then I've just got, a bunch of stuff, and I've things that I need around, like dusting things off, and I have some equipment, bits and pieces. Ooh, camera's going a bit wonky. Hammers and tools and stuff that just sort of hang around. There you go. That's my living space, and you can see that I'm actually looking at my own notes.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. So you're using teleprompter for notes. That's awesome. Because
what I do is, I switch it between here, and then I can move it up.
Yeah.
So I can now, when I'm talking to you, when you're talking, I just sort of talk to you.
That's what I do. I actually, once I was done like showing and moving around, I actually have everything like us, the preview in.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, right in there. Awesome. I do want to cover one more thing real quick before we jump right into the chat and talk about more, take some questions, because there's some really good questions I'm already seeing there in terms of web cameras, like what's better. So please keep that coming, folks in the chat. But before that, I definitely want to cover the topic of LUTs, because that's something that a lot of people are hearing right now. A lot of popular YouTubers are using them. This is kind of like all the rage when it comes to video cameras.
Can I just say one real quick thing that I didn't talk about? And I have two mics like you. Why is it I'm using the shotgun and not using my condenser mic? It's because I knew I'd be moving around.
Right. Okay. So that's super important. And we do have a question in the chat that we'll get back to in just a minute.
Okay.
In terms of how do we deal with sound with multiple people in the room, which was one of the issues we had with our first stream. So definitely a lot to cover there. But yeah, just real quick
I
while
have
we
strong
are
opinions.
on
I have strong opinions.
that's lovely. Yeah, let's definitely bring them on. Just real quick while we're talking about just kind of like our setups and stuff, we are using LUTs, and we did record a little demo for you just to kind of like show what they are. And Charles, if you can walk us through this, go for it.
So the camera that I use allows you to add a LUT. What is a LUT? A LUT is it's a look up table is what it stands for. It doesn't really mean much to anyone. It's a sort of I think it may be referred to as like algorithmic set of numbers. It's a table of numbers that allows footage to be treated based on those numbers that you put in. You refer to it as an Instagram filter. That is essentially what it is. It's a filter. But the thing that's special about it is that people can program them for you to give you a certain look. So if you look on this screen, on the left right this second, you see how dull and dim and washed out that is. That is the raw footage. My camera, I don't know if it's technically raw, but it basically is recording. The camera is recording as much information as it can without compressing it, without changing it. It's just taking every single inch of light and data that it can and putting that down, recording that, so that when you go to do your color grading, when you go to change those colors to the way that you want it to be, it has the most amount of data. But it doesn't look very good until you just literally drag and drop this LUT on. Now, if you're using a LUT in post-production, you just put it into your color grading panel and choose the LUT that you want. And you can buy these LUTs, you can make these LUTs. Or you can do it without, you just by color grading. But the beauty of having it on the camera is that you can put a lot of cameras into like a LUT preview mode. So it will record the raw data, but you can have the LUT just as a preview. And so that's what we do when we're live streaming. The camera, if I hit my camera to record now, it would record in that left-hand raw. But what you're seeing is on the right hand, it's not quite final. It's not really gone through a final grading, but you're seeing it post-LUT with the LUT applied. And so the HDMI output of my camera is going into my capture card, which in my case is an Elgato Cam Link. Thank you. Is that making sense? Am I explaining that? I think the problem with trying to explain something that you don't fully understand is you can't give a full explanation. It's not that complicated. It's just a set of filters.
It's just this, I think this is the best way, like the best analogy that I was able to come up with is just to call this kind of like, think of them as Instagram filters, right? Like if you're using Instagram or any other social platform. So even if you use an iPhone, right? Like they're like styles that you can apply to any pictures that you took, and then they can become cozy or dramatic or cool or warm or ethereal. Like they have like all this like interesting styles right now. And basically all it does is just gives you this additional kind of filter or this basically like treated look, right? So you can look warm and cozy or very like vibrant or very kind of like black and white. Like black and white is also a type of LUT, right? Like, or a type of filter. So if you want to create a video that's basically black and white, you can apply that as well.
In the same way that an old school film, you remember at the end it would say filmed in Panavision, or it would give you the film stock. It would tell you what film it was filmed on. Choosing the film is what affected the colors. That's why those old school films were so vibrant, is that they chose like Ektachrome or whatever. They chose films that suited the tone of the movie they were making. And that film, as you say, may well have been black and white by choice.
That is really cool, actually. I did not, that's a very, very interesting reference right there, that it is actually like the film itself was basically determining the color. And now you apply that to cameras. So some cameras come with LUTs. They are already in there, right? In some cameras, you need to install them separately. I believe in my situation, the Sony camera that I have does come with LUTs already. But there's also a recommendation for like phantom LUTs, I believe. Like that was the recommendation that the team that helped us build the studio had.
I use phantom LUTs. I use the Utopia, one of the Utopia ones. Actually, I have that.
Awesome.
Where is that? Here we go. Do you want me to share my screen and show you those? I can show you the website for phantom LUTs.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. Let me go to our screen share situation. And yeah.
All right. Let me just bring that up. Where is it? There. Here we go. So.
Yeah, phantom LUTs. Yep, that's the one.
So these are the ones I use. And you can see they have looks, film looks.
Yep.
and it will give you data on this. But the really cool thing about this is that you've got a reference that you can see what is it you're going for. So as long as you're shooting raw, you can get something pretty close. Your mileage will vary. There are so many variables with these things. There are so many variables.
Totally.
So you and I have a fairly similar setup. And yet look how different we look realistically.
There's a lot of things that affect it also, like lighting, like the space itself. But yes, we do. I think I use the dramatic blue to kind of like cool things off because I have a lot of like yellow in my lighting, and especially in the setup that I prefer.
Well, I looked at what I was doing this morning, and I was like, "You're a lot warmer than I am. Like, look at the color of yours."
Well, we can fix that because there's a button that does.
I have several apps on my phone for changing these things. I can go into my.
Here we go. Like that would give us this like like that.
So you have presets. What is that you're using for your presets?
It's just some kind of a box. Honestly, like this is the type of stuff that I'm not like super knowledgeable about, like how exactly all these things connect. We did rely on Dream Studio, which was our contractor who helped us build the studio to connect everything and to actually design the space to like actually work. But it is very helpful because it basically just gives me little hints like this is key light and camera, this is accent light, and this is my fill light. So right now I'm using fill light and key light, and that creates this more like cool view of everything. And my accent light or my hair light is a little bit more yellow. So that allows me to control the temperature. And I do also have an app that allows me to make it brighter or make it like warmer or cooler. But that's...
the colors that you put, so if you can see that in my background, so I've got several apps, and I can change the color of my background with this light that's next to me. Now, I wouldn't want this. You can see the spill coming onto me. I might move that. I don't want that. There we go. Move that light slightly. I tend to keep it bluish, but that's a bit too much. So I just take it to about here. So I can change the color of that, but I can also I can also change the colors. So I have gone for studio lights that are bi-color. So they will go through from tungsten light, which is very warm, through to daylight, which is very cool. So from yellow to blue. So if I change my key light, I make it look very orange. So that is like 2,700 Kelvin is the number. That's very, very, very tungsten-y.
Very warm.
Like old, tungsten being old school light bulbs with the tungsten filament.
Yeah.
And then I can put it all the way to the other side, and it'll look more like daylight. And in this environment, it looks weird. So let me just put it to...
Well, actually, I'm going to bring back my yellowish thing as well, because now like I do like this look a lot more. Like little sliders. This is the best.
And I have presets and things, but so I don't do as much live streaming as you do. I do more filming. Recording, and so my setup is slightly more geared to that, in that I don't tend to, my teleprompter isn't great. It's too far away for me to really see, actually. So I can only just read it. So if I was to do more live streaming, I would probably just reconfigure my setup. The lens I use is a 50mm lens. And that's because it's the most natural to the human eye. And also, it's a prime lens, which means it's not a zoom lens. That gives you better quality. There are less bits of glass inside, so it's meant to make it sharper. And with that prime lens, it means it's a faster lens. In other words, it can let more light in. Therefore, you get a much larger aperture, which is the aperture being the larger hole. They are talked about in f numbers. And my particular lens is an f1.8. Now, the advantage of having that large aperture means it lets in a lot more light. So you can have lower lighting, but it gives you a smaller depth of field, which means my background is out of focus. And that gives this wonderful separation. Now, the reason we want the separation is what makes cameras look more professional, realistically. There are many factors, but that's one of them. The color of your background being different to the color of you separates you. The focus, it being out of focus, separates you. And this hair light that we both have, this backlight or hair light, see how it's accenting around here? That separates me. And the one thing I would say is, if you can see something, it's okay to hear it. So if you can see a road in the background, it's okay to hear that road if you can see it. If you can't see it, it's out of context. It's odd. And the color of this accent, you can't see it right now in the way that we are, but the the practical light I have in the background, which is just an LED lamp, it is this color, right? I match the colors so that, and as I have Dream Studios for you, the accent lights in the background match those on the color of your hair light and your backlight. Those things, all of these things work together to give a much more. They're part of the language, really, of filmmaking, and they really help give that separation and make you look more professional. Sorry, I monologued. I really love this stuff. I'm not an expert. I want to just say I'm a jack of all trades, not master of none.
But you've done this for a long time. You've done this for a long time, and this is kind of your exactly. So that's why those opinions, they are formed by a lot of your experiences, and that's why I think this is super valuable. It's interesting that you mentioned that you went with prime lens, because we considered either Sigma Prime or Zoom, and we ended up with Zoom. Because we just decided that for live streaming purposes, since most of the time we're just going to be either going to be me streaming in the studio and someone joining remotely like you do right now, or it's going to be me and Alex. In that case, the setup is similar but slightly different because we're both in the same room. So we went for the Zoom lens, by Sigma 24 to 70 millimeters. So that's the one that we ended up choosing.
The use case will always dictate, and I think that
absolutely.
Live streaming tends to be lower bit rates than, say, delivering a recorded video to YouTube. Yeah. Therefore, it's going to be inherently slightly less sharp and a bit more forgiving.
Yeah.
I do a lot of publishing onto YouTube, so I want to get the highest quality possible. So that's, a lot of this stuff is dictated by necessity or just by use case.
But the highest quality possible is now also possible with local recordings. That with Restream, when you are streaming within our studio, if you have access to high quality cameras, like 4K cameras, you can actually record in 4K. So your live stream is going to be whatever the end platform can support. Most cases is going to be 1080p. But then your recording for repurposing for those wonderful clips and for replays, best of, cut downs, can be the best quality possible. So that's something also to check out. I am going to tease that after we take some questions in the chat that are, I see, getting collected, which is always so great to see people being engaged and interested and asking like really, really good questions in the chat. So keep them coming. We will take questions from the chat right now, mostly for you, Charles, because you're, a little bit more about the gear. But after that,
I'm surrounded by gear. Sorry,
yes,
I have so much stuff to show. If
needed. a little teaser before we take the questions is that after that we will talk about the budget setups, because I know there will be a lot of questions there from solo streamers. How do you create a streaming space that is very good on budget? And we'll provide some tips and specific gear. But let's go ahead and look into the chat. So many great questions here. So first is about. Two people in studio. I really want to take this question because we did have that pain when we started for the first time in this new setup. I have issues with sound when I have two people in live stream in a single room. I use F2. I
find AMT.
I find MT. Yeah, I'm not familiar with that mic, but
I think that's a dynamic mic. I think that is like a. I'm not. I would have to Google that particular mic.
But both cameras.
Is the issue though?
Yeah, both cameras are patched in via link, so I think we need a switcher. Recommendations.
Okay, switcher tends to be more video, so you will video switch, a vision mixer or live switcher, and then a mixer would be, or a desk would be your audio. If you can run to that, I would always advise if you need it to. But the biggest thing you want to do is isolate those two microphones from each other. So the way that you would do that is by having headphones on people, or making sure that there is no reflections in the room. In other words, you want to put up sound treatment like rugs, or moving blankets are a great option. You can buy like 6 for like $30 and you just put them on your wall. Add a couch. And you want to try and isolate those microphones so that the speaker of one isn't picked up on another, which is why headphones are
which is a big problem, because when you are together in the same room, that's exactly what we experienced with Alex. We do not want to wear separate headphones, right? Like, it's just going to be weird because we need to be able to hear each other and we need to be able to interact. And how we solved it, as I showed earlier, is we added a boom mic, basically like a mic that goes from top and captures, like it has a little bit better coverage for two people. It's not going to give you this like really sexy, intimate type situation.
I might make a different choice. I'll be honest. I might give you 2 of those mics rather than
Yes,
because
two
the shotgun
of
is
this.
very directional. It is
Yeah.
very directional. It's
But it is
hardly
plug
away.
and play. It's very easy. So
Yeah,
once you have it, and the sound is not going to be as sharp and as intimate and as like really milky as it is right now with the microphone that I use. But it's going to be good enough if you are having kind of like people coming and like co-producing, co-streaming at scale at the same place. Otherwise, yes, you'll have to really think about how they don't interrupt and interfere with each other and do headphones.
There is also, think about how you guys have set up. If you are going to be doing things where there are interviews and people like lively conversation, look at how those big podcasters and how those radio stations set things up. Think about how they physically have people. They don't have them sitting next to each other. They're sitting opposite, right?
Yes.
So that this microphone is going this way, this one's going this way, and the back of that one won't be picking up this person. Does that make sense? So to have 2 people next to each other, something like a lav might work quite well, but a lav is omnidirectional. So it doesn't matter which way a lav mic is pointing. It will pick up everything.
Everything.
So you
and
need a very treated room.
Interference.
Use case is always a thing. Trying to separate those 2 microphones is the most important thing if you're doing post-production.
Yes.
If you're not going to be editing it afterwards and you don't need to be able to cut those people up and chop them up as much, or you make sure people don't talk over each other is another thing. Never going to happen with me, sorry.
Never happens with you. Yeah, that's true. I would say, I think you made a really good point. If you have space to actually separate the people so they are sitting on opposite side of the room and you can have this like wide angle shot like a lot of podcasters do, that's great. Like we did not have that option because we want to be in the same camera and basically use the same desk. So probably the most distance we can have is like what looks like a distance if Charles and I were in the same room, right? Like, so that's as far as I would normally sit away from Alex. I cannot really go much further. So because of that, we went with boom, like right in the middle of us. But if you have that space and you can connect to SMB 7s, absolutely go for it. I love that idea because in that case, and then on post-production, even using Restream Studio, you can separate audio tracks as well as video tracks, and then you can create this like really cool kind of like interchanging things and like whatever audio you want. Even if people talk over each other, you will still get them nice and clean. Good stuff. Camera question. Hacker is asking, is it better to have a webcam, Logitech, or mirrorless camera like Sony? Great question. Define better.
Right. Better for the pocketbook? Webcam. Better for quality. It's going to be a Sony. But then the thing about a webcam is, sure, you can get a reasonable picture, but then if it's on a computer, you have to have that computer up high. It's difficult to use. If you touch the keyboard, you hear all the sounds. But if you're going to get a mirrorless, lovely Sony camera, which is what I'm using here, look at it. Really, look how quick that focuses. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't tend to see that. If you're going to do that, it then comes with other things that you need, like a dummy battery. Otherwise, you're going to run out of power. If it's a Sony like mine, you might need one of those little things on the back that had little fans on it. And if that fan is on, it then makes noise. Hopefully, you can't hear the noise of my fan. I have so better for which use case. This is why I'm always really hesitant about when people say, what is the best? You can Google what is the best, and you'll get as many answers as there are, inches in a piece of string.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would say the best thing is to use what you have until you have a system, until you know what you really want, and then research the best thing for that particular use case. I don't think you can go wrong with one of those Sony cameras and a capture card. You can't go wrong with that. Stick it on some legs and talk to it. Showing up, that's what you need to do, and have fun.
I would also recommend definitely Sony and mirrorless, but remember that upgrading your setup is an iterable process, right? You don't have to get everything immediately.
Right.
You can prioritize what is possible right now and start with great mic, then upgrade to great camera, then improve the lights, then do the decor and all the stuff.
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely. I'm going to change this background. Like I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at the practical lighting in the back you've got there with those shadows. I'm like, mine looks so flat and dead now. I need that. I want that. I'm going to do that. And actually, when you guys were setting up, I saw that Sennheiser mic that you had there, and I thought I want one of those. However, I didn't want to pay the Sennheiser price, so I did a bunch of research, and I went for an Audio-Technica mic, 80 something, and I think it's as good, and as do a lot of other professionals. So, you don't have to go for the most expensive. Go for the most appropriate.
Absolutely. And a lot of things, when you think about, like, if you create this kind of chart from like the cheapest possible microphone to the most expensive possible microphone, and basically most of the good stuff is not going to be on the super far and expensive side, right? It's all going to be somewhere in the middle. Like, yes, you can get the Ferrari of microphones and you're going to sound really good, but you can sound just almost great, right? By going with something more budget.
Can I just say, the microphone that you have right there, everyone loves the SM7B. It was used to record Michael Jackson's Thriller. It was, it's an absolute classic microphone. It's a dynamic mic, which means it doesn't need power, it doesn't need phantom power, but it's really low level, which means you have to have an interface that boosts that signal, right? Which is going to introduce hiss into your noise floor. So you need to have all of. So is that the best mic? It may not be the best mic for some people, but it has fabulous noise rejection from anything happening around it. And so if you had two of those in the same room, Joe Rogan-esque, and they're pointing in opposite directions, they're going to work really well. But if you've got two people sitting right next to each other, it may not actually be quite as good as you might think. You might be disappointed by it.
Yeah, it's very difficult. We did try that when we were setting up, and that's why we decided against it. But just for the reference, because I saw also like a few people asked about my mics and my boom mic. So our mod Grant will share some links in the chat, so you guys can actually see it. It is this one, just to give you an idea of a budget. The SM7B is around $400, right? And you also need a Rodecaster for it, which is another $500.
You need an interface and maybe even a cloud lifter. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you will need a few mounts. And then if you want to go with that second microphone, so like the budget starts kind of like really piling up. Whereas the boom package is a little bit more kind of on the budget, right? Like, so this one, I believe is like about $400, just the boom mic. And then, yes, it does need a stand and some sort of like a hold for it, but that's basically solves that. But it does also need an interface. So yeah, I forgot about that part. So kind of, a few different moving pieces, and the links
need an interface because it will need power.
Exactly. Exactly. So there will be some links in the chat on that. That's awesome.
But this is the one that I've got. That is the 87.5R.
Yeah, Audio-Technica.
Right? I think it's comparable to that. And this is, 150 maybe? Like it's significantly cheaper. But also, can I just say, I know that you guys have got that dead cat on there. You got the windsock. You got the over the top of it. You don't need it.
I don't know why I'm not sure why we installed it. I guess it just like looks more fun.
Where's the wind? There's no wind in that room.
It's design.
No one's blowing on it. So this is, I see, sorry, I really want to interject.
No, that's all good. That's all
good. You see people with those pop shields, this big round pop shield, right? And they've got it on a microphone that's over here. Okay? And you're like, it's so a pop shield is to reduce plosives. So plosive is and the air coming out of your mouth. And so it stops that to stop the on the microphone.
Yeah, exactly. Which we will not do. However, you never know. You never know what sometimes I or Alex would do. So maybe we'll just blow it. Maybe it's actually not as useless as it seems. Timothy is asking, I'm starting and I want to build my own YouTube live stream studio. What equipment would you recommend from mics to cameras? So I think this is a really nice segue to like a budget conversation, right? Because I would make sure that we do cover that. And I think it nicely connects to this question. If you're just starting, you might not necessarily have like a big ROI plan for your podcast. Maybe it's just a community stream. Maybe it's something very like hobby and simple. So you might not have the budgets to build out like a whole professional studio. Where would you start with that, to kind of like reach that minimum lovable or minimum viable studio that will give you the good sound and good look, better than, AirPods and web camera from your computer, for sure. We want to level up from that because It's much more enjoyable when you look better, and it's more enjoyable for your viewers. Viewers today have very high standard, so you have to kind of like keep up with that.
Well, this is true, yeah.
What would you recommend for someone who is just starting in terms of minimum viable studio?
If you can run to a camera that has interchangeable lenses or a zoom lens and a fast lens, so you could get the separation and that nice bokeh, that blurry black background, that'd be great. If you can have a camera that has that can live preview your LUT, that would be great. But those aren't necessary, but those are nice to haves. I think that there are a couple of things that can really level you up: lighting and your sound. Right? Camera is it. I don't know if I don't feel qualified enough to say this is the best camera. This is the camera I recommend. I am using the Sony ZV-E1. I have problems with it in that it can overheat when I'm shooting 4K, and it has built-in webcam capability, and it always overheated whenever I tried to do that. So I would say don't buy it because of the webcam capability. So I like that as a camera. It's a part of the A series, the Alpha series. They are fabulous, and you can buy them secondhand. But if you get something like a Lumix GH4 or GH3, I believe those are super old. You could probably get a camera and a body. That's Panasonic. Is it not Lumix? Yeah, anyway.
Lumix is a Panasonic brand. It's just like there. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
My brain is going.
We considered a few Lumixes, and I would say some of them have like really luxurious cinematic look.
Yeah.
Like especially the like higher end ones. They do have a little bit of an interesting struggle with autofocus, which was a non-starter for us because we definitely cannot mess. It's probably absolutely perfect if you're just like walking around and shooting something and then you're going to post-produce when you have a lot of control on the focus. But for us here, it had to be super autofocus. Like I don't ever need to think about if I'm blurry or if it's just like trying to like capture my microphone. So that's why we went with Sony. But the Lumixes, like the high-end Panasonics, create beautiful view.
I shot tons of educational content on a GH5 in 4K, and it looked wonderful. And the great thing about that is when I was using them, they didn't overheat using a dummy battery. Hot tip, if your things are overheating, open every door you possibly can. Get the screen away from the back of the camera to let the heat escape, and get one of those little things that a little fan for the back of the camera. Nice. But so camera is difficult. Microphone, I worked on a podcaster for a venture capitalist, a very famous guy. He is angel investor. Some people may well know this man. We used to have really important guests come on, and I would send them the Samsung Q2U. At the time, pre-COVID and during COVID, these were about $60. They're now, I think, about $100. You can get them secondhand, a lot less. Here's what I love about this mic. It is pretty good sounding, pretty good noise rejection, but if you look at that, that is an XLR connector, so that will go into your fancy interface when you get one. But this is also an interface itself. So it's a USB mic. You can plug this straight into your computer via USB and it works. Bam, done.
Wow.
You don't need that on there necessarily, but it helps with when you're close on it. It's a pretty good sound. It's a little bit muffled. It's not great in the high end, but it's pretty good. But what's fabulous about this is because this is an interface, you can plug your headphones straight into it. So you just have one USB, headphones go into there. It means you can hear yourself in your ears, which can be really good.
For sound check, right? For testing in the beginning.
For sound check and for sanity. Sometimes being able to hear yourself is a good idea.
Yeah.
Can I get the mic a little higher is a lyric off a song that my kids are singing at the moment, and that's a reference to like a singer wants to be able to hear their own voice.
Yeah, they all wear like little earbuds so they can hear themselves when they're on the stage. Yeah,
right. But it also means that I can hear you.
Yeah,
right, and I don't have to have more cables. I like this. It comes with a little stand. Like I think as a budget option, I think that this is a great option. Personally, again, your mileage may vary.
I also, while you're looking for your next showcase element, want to plug in that this story about sending microphones not super expensive, but just good enough, and also plug and play, right? Like very easy to install to your guests if you have high profile guests. Is such an inspiring story. I remember you shared it early on when you were just joining Restream, and it made a huge impression on me because I thought it was such an elegant solution how to make sure that the audio of your guest, if the guest is super important, if that the whole business model is around that video.
Are several reasons why that's so important, though.
Yeah.
Right. What that does is it secures that person. It says we are serious. Right. It sends them a very strong message. It also puts the expectation on them to think about what they're doing before they're on the show. And so when I would call them up and say, hey, we need to do our tech check, they were like, oh yeah, I've got that mic around here somewhere. I made sure that they had it working.
Yeah.
And I could head off. Now at that time, we didn't have local recording. So I would be having to teach that person how to log onto the system. And, everyone knows how to use an online meeting. Right. And that's what Restream is. It's just very easy as a Zoom call or a Google chat or whatever. However, I would then have to have them recording in QuickTime in the background or voice, or voice recordings and things. And it meant that they were then invested in, and they recognized that we were serious. And for a podcast of that magnitude, that $60 per guest was not a big deal. I also quite like this. This is the Ultra Voice XM 8500. It's not fabulous mic, but it is bulletproof, and you can use it in a wide range of applications. And so if you're doing things like a live event, and you're also, because this is like a cheap version of some Shure mic SM58, I think. Like it's not great, but it is only XLR, so you will need an interface. But if you need to buy several and you do live events, it's a great option. You can just have this in the studio. People use them. They sound pretty good. So sound is a big deal.
That's awesome.
We were talking about budget equipment, and then so we should probably talk about lights.
Yes, absolutely. And I do actually have a question here about lights, I believe. Let me see. So this is kind of specific, but this is also a nice segue to the conversation about lights. How about use two lights behind the monitors pointing up, so you get this bouncing light from the ceiling? Yeah.
Oh, from the ceiling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bouncing light is fabulous. Like that's a well-known technique. So if you have no lights,
I'm trying to see, like mine does not do that. But mine are not bouncing off the ceiling. But like I can see how.
Okay, I could give you a demo, I guess. But a really good thing is to start from zero, fix your background, and then you position your camera, then you position your lights. But maybe you have to position your lights because that's the only place you can put them because they're big. Like it's how long is a piece of string. If you have no budget for any lights whatsoever, put a sheet. We talked about this last week. Put a white sheet over your window. Put that window at 45 degrees to you. So you're looking at the camera. The window is 45 degrees, and it will wrap around nicely. Now that window light is then going to bounce around the room. It's going to bounce off the ceiling. It's going to bounce off your walls, and it's going to light up the other side. If it doesn't light up the other side, get a piece of white card. And I don't know if this will. You can. Is it doing anything? Like I don't have anything particularly white.
But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's like also similar technique as if you just like increase the brightness of your screen, for example, it will also give you this little like extra effect, and you have like a white background on your laptop. That is another way. There's like this edge light that Mac just issued, which is kind of like a more sophisticated and a pro version of this. But you can achieve that by like right now. It's actually very funny that you brought this up. All my backgrounds are intentionally black on all my screens because I do not want this additional lightness interference because everything here is already set up to be good. But if you need that, you can always use that as a little hack.
I was actually using that edge light yesterday. What I realized is, so if I'm going to move, I've got a website open here and it's white because for some reason people are still stuck in not doing dark mode on everything, which I hate. Can you see a difference as I move it in and out?
Yeah, a little bit. Like so on your side, it lights you up. Yeah.
If I get closer.
Even something like that.
Even your laptop screen is going to make a difference. And that can be really distracting. If you're trying to talk to someone and you're doing stuff and the websites are changing, that light is changing from the screen. The edge light actually gets around that. It gives you a constant brightness.
Yes.
So that's actually, I was playing with it. I was like, that's actually quite useful.
It's very helpful. Yeah, it's very helpful. And like you said, the best thing compared to Window, which was my first light ever in Restream Studio in 2020, when I was streaming from, like our very bare bones studio, and we did not have any kind of equipment at all. I used Window, like I live in Austin, Texas, so sunny day is usually not a problem. But sometimes sunny day becomes a cloudy day, and then you get this like light that just kind of like turns on and off on you because the clouds are passing the sun, and it's just kind of like crazy.
I said earlier, if you can see the road outside, it's okay to hear the road noise. If you know that there's a window there, and you see the light moving across the room, it's not so much of a problem. And maybe the camera will auto change for you. The problem, it could be that backlighting means the camera's going to expose for all of that bright light and you're going to be dark. So that is something to bear in mind. Try and have the light source in front of you.
So I want to go through as many questions as we can because we are very close to wrapping up. We have about 15 minutes left before we have to wrap up. And I definitely want to make sure we answer some of the questions that are here. Okay. Danger Zone is asking, any recommendations for outdoor recording? Say on the walk if I'm in Pacific Northwest. How interesting. So I need to find a way to negate the contrast winds, which have proven difficulty. Interesting.
The constant winds. I mean, okay, well, a very directional microphone, like a shotgun, with a dead cat, with the windsock on it, as fluffy and hairy as possible, and as close to you as possible. A microphone that's really directional. If you look at movies and things, you have the guy following around with the boom.
Yeah,
that's really. The other thing is, when I'm outside, I'm doing that kind of stuff, I will use this. I really love these DJI mics, these little things, and I just clip it on. That thing I did recently, but then, oops, I just dropped it. Sorry. They come with the little fluffy windshield, and that will clip on the top. So that is going to help a lot. What I like about these is, this receiver will go straight onto the top of my camera and will record direct onto my footage, or I can just hit record on the side. I actually do both.
Yeah, so, and you can see a lot of that in your shorts. Like if you check out our YouTube shorts, you will see Charles walking sometimes when he shoots outside. Like he walks with this little microphone, and it sounds very, very good. Like I mean, obviously you walk around San Francisco, so North West Pacific winds are probably a familiar thing in there. So you definitely, you can definitely check out like how that looks in action in YouTube shorts section at Restream. Good stuff. Question about monitoring audio for YouTube streams. My raw mic feeds or the final output viewers will hear. How can I check the YouTube stream for sync issues in real time using the same headset? Good question.
I mean, this is tough, but as a producer, when you guys are going live, I will flip over to a YouTube channel. I will mute the tab that you guys are on, and I will listen to you on one of the channels. However, when you're live and you have a sync issue, there's not a huge amount you can do. You should have checked that beforehand and done some tests. But I will mute the tab and go to a tab with the actual output. Bearing in mind, if you're multi-streaming through something like OBS, then you'll be pounding your internet connection. So do it through Restream, and then you're only doing that. Your connection to that multi-streaming platforms is negated. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I always believe that having someone else to just look at the sync is a good idea. You can potentially turn it into an engaging question for your chat, right? You can say, "Hey guys, how do we sound?" It's a kind of like a stylistic choice, right? Like we try not to do that a lot. Like I don't rely on the audience to tell me if my sound is right. I fortunately have most of the time Charles, sometimes some other co-producers to check for these things. But it's the same as like, is this video even live on all the channels, right? Like you do need somebody else to check it for you, or you open those additional tabs and like do the quick check.
This is something we were talking about in terms of countdown. Like, it'd be nice if we could interact during the countdown. It's a discussion we were having. Actually, that angel investor that I used to work for, his live shows were actually a live recording of the podcast. And so his live show would start not with a countdown, with just him going. You would hear him talking to us, and we'd be there in the room, and he'd be chatting, and then he'd be like, "Oh, hey, chat, how you doing? We're just setting up here. You know, how am I sounding? 5x5?" And people would respond and let him know. Oh, actually, it's a bit laggy, or there's something here. So the beginning of the show there was no countdown. The beginning of the show was us doing
this little check, which could be very engaging and cool thing. Yeah, if that's your thing, do it. Absolutely,
it means you get two audiences. You get the live audience, and then you get that podcast audience.
Yep.
Who get the polished product later.
Exactly. Josh from X is asking, what is the best browser to use? I'm just going to take that. Use Chrome or Chromium-based browsers. I do use Arc, and Google Chrome or anything Chrome-based is your best friend. We do have some success with Firefox. Like a lot of people use that browser as well. It does get a little wonkier, and because most of our stuff is developed and tested in Chromium stuff, that's when you kind of like get the more consistent outcomes. Occasionally people find like more like weird stuff when they use Safari or Firefox. So I would recommend Chrome as much as possible for browser-based streaming. And I believe it's not just Restream, it's just like whatever browser-based tool you use. Even if you're just doing a Google Meet, you're probably better off in Chrome. Good stuff. I
have more like budget stuff that can help level things up.
Yeah, absolutely. I am going to ask, there's one question that I really liked about like this decision-making process on how do you decide what to buy and what not to buy. It's actually from Danger Zone. He's asking, Charles, how do you determine what to buy and what you will need? Is someone advising you, or do you just basically like research that? Because when you're building studio from the beginning, right, from ground up, you kind of don't always even know all the things that you might need. So how do you think about that? And that's another great segue to maybe a few other toys that you want to show for folks who are operating on budget.
I work until I'm solving a problem. Mm-hmm. When I have a problem, I will then research how to solve that problem. And usually my first instinct isn't the best solution. I will look and I use things like Reddit to find out how other people have solved that problem. And I do that in all aspects of my life. The gas cap on the car didn't open, and I thought, the cable's broken. I'll go and buy a new cable. And then I Googled it, and it actually turns out that the hinge has a piece of metal that pops it open, and that just needed bending back, right? So my instinct wasn't the right solution. So I will wait until I have a problem, and then I will research that problem. And it's often turns up things, when you think you might need better lighting, segue, actually, what you might need is a little bit of makeup. Like, I unashamedly, okay, I have 3 makeup products. I use eye whitening drops. I don't use these all the time. Probably not good to constrict the vessels in your eyes too much. Wow. I have this Sephora
like
Best Skin Ever, right? I use this if I got a spot, or sometimes my glasses leaves a mark here, and then I'm getting on a bit, certain broken veins. The guy in Sephora recommended this thing, milk or something. I don't overdo it. I try not to overdo it. Can you see that I'm wearing makeup right now?
I can't, but I'm wearing makeup for sure. And I always keep a little brush and a little powder here because to me, the biggest thing that I think everyone should absolutely think about is like how not to shine. And it's very easy to get shiny when you are in the room and you have all the lights. And I think this is very... Here we go. Great demo. And that's very difficult to get rid of even with filters and LUTs and all the things, right? Like if you have this like big shiny spot somewhere, it's just kind of like, it's distracting. So I always tell even to sales folks who are using Studio to just pitch and talk to customers that they're not necessarily live streaming or recording. I always say, hey, if you're feeling a little shiny, just, it's just a white powder. It has no color. But it does get rid of all the shininess in your skin.
Sorry. I went into Sephora to ask him about those blotting powder. There's the little squares that you use to take the oil off your skin. Yeah. I was like, I want some of those. And case in point, he was like, no, that's not what you need. This is what you need. Actually, I need a brush. I don't know about this stuff. Look, full transparency, I always had someone doing makeup for me, for my guests and my talent. So I'm having to learn. Maybe you could teach me how to use a brush. I really don't know.
It's very simple. You just dip it in and just like go for it until you stop shining. Just like what you're saying earlier, until you solve the problem. Until
If you
that,
wanna-
that shiny thing is, once it's gone, you're good.
But
So-
less is more. Don't overdo it. If you look,
Yeah.
if you go back and look at that, I did a short about using a green screen, and I'm at Land's End by the Golden Gate Bridge. If you look at that, I've put on way too much makeup. I didn't know why. I was like, just got it. And I was like, oh, you just put this on. I was like using it like face cream. It looks terrible.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right. Question again around the budget topic. What do you recommend for someone that is streaming on a budget with Chromebook? Anything that you're thinking?
Wow, Chromebook. Well, if I was going to do it on a Chromebook, I absolutely positively would use an online system like Restream, because that's taking a lot of the processing weight off your computer. And then are all Chromebooks made equal? Honestly, that's slightly out of my wheelhouse. I would do a lot of testing, and I would probably I would try and take as much load off the computer as I could, so that an interface and a webcam, so when we talk about a webcam, we're talking about like a specific piece of equipment. But you know that any USB camera or any USB signal coming from a camera, like an Elgato, what's it called, the 4K thing? I keep forgetting.
The Elgato 4K thing?
Camlink.
Oh, Camlink, yeah.
So the Camlink is essentially turning your expensive camera into a webcam. It's a very lightweight signal. It's actually not so. I would, and if it has an internal camera, maybe that's a better thing. Sorry, I'm not sure I have the best advice on that. But
no, that's good.
Take as much load off the computer as you can.
Yeah, because it's a small device. It's hard for it to power such a big thing as a live stream. I'm just using a basic webcam, and I have a lighted sign in the back. I guess like the lit sign in the background, and it always blows out and blurry. How can I fix that? Good one.
It blows out and blurry. Well, that blows out and blurry is almost desirable. I have a thing on my camera called a Pro Mist filter, and I think you probably have one too, which gives you that misty look. That's almost desirable, and it's giving you that separation.
That we talked about earlier, yeah.
Yeah, either bring it closer. If you're using a webcam and it's doing, maybe you have some sort of plugin like on the Mac. It does that, fake bokeh blurring. But I would say bring it closer is probably
it's probably just the autofocus thing. It's just like over autofocusing and blurring something. So definitely.
Either that, it could be that it's very bright and the camera, the system is trying very hard to balance the brightness of that practical light and the brightness on yourself.
Yep, absolutely. This is, actually, I wanted to take this one first. As a solo streamer, do I need to wear headset on my entire stream? So if you're streaming solo, do you always need headphones? It's a good one.
So, it depends on your microphone, but I would say it's better to. It is better to, because so what's going to happen is if you are solo streaming, you still need to. If you have a guest, I would say yes, right? So if you need to hear your computer, if you need to hear someone speaking, whether they're in the room with you or they are at the other end and they're coming through the speakers of your computer, yes, because you want to try and isolate that sound of those speakers from the microphone from your voice being picked up by the microphone. So you'll get howl round. Now, obviously, Restream has noise cancellation and it has, echo cancellation, these fabulous systems that tidy this up, but it can only do so much. So do the most you can to make that process simpler for the equipment. Ideally, yes, Anya and I need to hear Anya, so I want to hear her in my headphones. And I like open back. These are considered open back. I like headphones where I can still hear myself a little. Yeah,
because if I had you on speaker, my microphone will probably be picking you up at least a little bit. So then there's like a whole other headache around that. So definitely headset would be recommended. And this is another good one. Also, as a streamer, what is the best first investment for reducing echo? Acoustic foam panels for my room or some kind of like software filters, for example, in OBS? What would you say?
Carpets, rugs, couches,
panels, the physical stuff.
And what you're trying to do is reduce reflections. If you think about sound in the way that you think about light, you shine a light on a wall and the light all gets bounced back. The same thing happens with your voice. And so if you're talking and it's going to bounce off whatever is behind you and come back into the back of the microphone, and there's a delay, and that gives you it gives you that echo. I am using some IKEA curtains. I spoke about these earlier. The moving blankets, they're quite dense, and there's like 6 for $30. Hang those up around you. Anything you can do to stop reflections in your room, both light and sound, is going to help level you up. Controlling of the sound is what you want to do. So I would say moving blankets is the
the panels basically.
They don't have to be
fancy. They just have to be.
But you can throw them over stuff.
Yeah, we have simple curtains just to cover the glass wall, because in this office space we have the glass wall, and it did mess with sound, so we just bought regular curtains and just covered it, and that helped a lot.
I'm sorry, I keep cutting you off.
No, go ahead.
I have recorded voiceovers in my closet, right? You just take the microphone and sit in the closet, because all of those clothes deaden the sound completely. You get this lovely, beautiful, rich, close sound. The closer you are on the microphone, the more you're going to make that capsule vibrate. You're going to get a deeper, richer sound. You're going to capture more detail. So that's another thing, is try and get close on your mic. But you want to be a couple of fists away, 6 to 8 inches.
Yep, totally. I am going to just run through a few more questions, because as we need to wrap up, I really want to make sure that we address a few of them. What camera do you suggest for $300? That's a very specific number, but I guess under.
A second-hand one. If you can buy second-hand equipment, buy second-hand equipment.
I actually
used.
Wanted to do a shameless plug for Facebook Marketplace, because, oh my God, I sell a lot of stuff there, just my personal things, kids stuff and whatever, and you can find amazing things there. My husband buys guitars on Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, and you can find some really good things, because occasionally, one man's trash is another man's treasure. So people do sell stuff all the time. So I would say, with cameras especially, I think you made this analogy yesterday when we were prepping, that camera is kind of like a car, like it has certain mileage. So if it has been in use for many, many, many years, it's definitely going to have some wear and tear. However, good, well-built camera, like good Sonys, good Panasonic Lumixes, they're just like amazing cameras. And if sometimes people sell them for less, that's the opportunity to find something. Even if Sony ZV might be probably something that you can find for around this price range.
Any external camera that is around $300, if it has an HDMI out, if it's got live video out, that's truly a preview of what it's going to record, and not like lower frame rate, whatever. Put that into a capture card. Now, I talked about the Elgato capture card, but I have these capture card. Where is it? I have one here. I've shown this before. This was $10. They might even be cheaper. This is a bona fide capture card. This will only do 1080, but I'm telling you, this $10 capture card, if I was to swap it out, you'd be fairly hard pushed to see the difference. It changes the colors a bit. It may not do the same frame rate, but a cheap capture card and a used camera, used equipment is amazing. Something like a microphone, make sure you test it first. You don't know what's happened to that mic if it's something delicate like a shotgun. But I would say maybe a GH4 or GH5 Panasonic, perhaps. I'm not. And if you're going with that, make sure that the HDMI works. Those little HDMI connectors, they're
especially for used ones. Yeah, definitely good stuff. I wear AirPods and have a mic, and when my guest and I speak at the same time, which is common problem apparently. Is there a way to stop it from cutting out my guest voice in my AirPods? So it only happens in studio, not on YouTube.
We didn't touch on this, but only ever use wired equipment. If you don't, AirPods are a weak spot. They are amazing, but they are a weak spot when it comes to live streaming or recording. I would say don't use AirPods at all. I had so many issues with guests that would come on and say, "Oh, I've got headphones." And they put their AirPods in, and suddenly things just would stop working on the Mac. Because the AirPods are so clever, they're trying to take over everything. So it could be that the AirPods are trying to force the microphone in the AirPods into whatever it is you're doing. If you can, just get a pair of wired headphones. If you don't like to see that, Then in-ear monitors, you can get some really astounding in-ear monitors that you see how I've got the cable going down the back here.
Yeah.
In-ear monitors, you won't really necessarily see it. One of the issues with in-ear monitors is they're very they're very isolating, so you may not be able to hear yourself except in your own head, which is quite discombobulating until you get used to it. So I would say get wired headphones would be my answer.
That's awesome.
Please don't ever show up on a show using Bluetooth headset in any form ever.
Like me.
Is that what you is? I can't see
doing. Yeah, no.
What, is it working? I mean,
yeah, it works. It works. It works.
So.
It's a very I mean, I use Mac and this headphones. I did in the past have issues though, so it's not a bulletproof solution. I just absolutely love the look of these headphones on me, and it just justifies it all for me.
I'm such a dad. I don't care what they look like. I've got my old school Sonys I've had for a billion years.
Right,
and
I definitely like that's an important thing for me. Lots of great questions. We will be coming back to them, and we will be responding to some of them in the YouTube.
Do you want to do quick fire?
Chaps, I do. I will take one more question because I think it is. It's like a nice segue to the future, right? Okay. So there's a question about what is the schedule for your live Q&A sessions? Are they weekly, monthly, or another interval? So we are live every single Wednesday at around the same time, and we are doing these Q&A sessions with devs, with designers, with Charles on gear and production, and we also do that with product managers to launch new products. So it is a weekly stream, but from what I see here, it sounds like, and please let us know in the chat right now, would you like another gear show? Because we got to go at some point, right? So we cannot go for hours. But we would love to understand if this is valuable for you, if the conversation about gear is something you guys crave. We are absolutely happy to do another gear show as early as next Wednesday. Just let us know in the chat or in the comments on whichever platform you're watching us on, if that is something that you would like to do. And Charles, we can probably make it happen, right? Like we can just do another gear show because there's so many different questions and people are so engaged.
Q&A.
Yeah, just the Q&A. We're not going to prepare any demo. We are just going to invite you guys to come in and ask all these great questions because we honestly didn't even realize that this little kind of random gear conversation will be so interesting, and there's so many different questions and so many different things to cover. So let us know if you would like us to commit to another gear show, and we will do what you say. On that note, any last final comments that you'd like to share before we?
So we covered. I mean, I think I've covered everything that I felt were the important things. But honestly, I can't begin to tell you how important a checklist is, and having notes or taking notes while you're going. You won't remember things. So as far as really important bits of equipment, a checklist and a notebook are really important.
Good stuff. All right. So on this positive note, I am going to thank everybody who joined us today. Thank you very much for our moderator. I saw Grant was taking care of so many different questions and dropping links in the chat. So absolutely feel free to follow them. There are some specific gear recommendations that we pointed out. I will come back to the stream and add to the description some of those links that we mentioned here, some of the gear that Charles showed, and some of the gear that we have here in our studios. We are absolutely thrilled with the number of questions. So we hope to see you next Wednesday. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, for asking your questions, for being here, for being an amazing audience, and for a lot of love that you shared. I'm just going to showcase a few comments here that are just absolutely amazing. Studio is looking great. Cool stuff, Charles.
I haven't been reading that.
I know.
I'm not as pro when it comes to actually being a guest, as it were. So I haven't been looking at the chats. But.
No, there's so many amazing comments, and maybe our awesome producer Becca, who is with us today, can show a few other comments when people were sharing love, like they were mentioning in the beginning how they use Restream all the time, how it's very helpful for them, how we help them to power and run and host their shows, and this is music to our ears. We absolutely love. Seeing those comments, seeing those, hearing that feedback. Here's one. Yeah, I've been using Restream for a long time. Thank you so much for the entire team. Your fellow user from India. That's amazing to hear that our geography is so big and global and people are watching us from everywhere. Cool stuff. We can't thank you enough for coming in and spending your time with us.
We can't thank you enough. I work here because of you and because of the incredible customer service. This is why I'm here.
This is
you.
so good. Lots of
Thank
hearts
you.
to all of you. And big shout out to Becca, who was our behind the scenes producer.
Yes,
today.
Becca.
Most of the time it is Charles, but today he was really needed here and he needed to concentrate on content because so many questions were for him and he covered so much. So Becca, thank you so much for pinning chats for us, for writing the scenes, for helping us to look good. It feels so good to have a co-producer. I cannot stress this enough. If you're using Restream Studio, buy or get a team seat. Get that awesome person who is going to be your co-pilot and enjoy the show. It helps so much to have that extra pair of hands. And big thanks to our studio team who makes this product and makes all this stuff possible. And we would love for you to subscribe if you can to our Restream channel. Great broadcast. That's awesome. Let me go ahead and get this little subscribe. I don't know why it's not showing.
Oh, that's a nice.
Here we go.
That's a nice little animation.
Nice little animation. I wonder who made that, right? But yeah, it really helps us a lot because if we see some growth in our channel, that allows us to dedicate more resources to continue showing up for you with this live Q&As. So that's super important. Your comments, your shares, your likes, and your subs. And so we will see you next Wednesday. We will look at the comments and see if you guys want another gear show. And if you do, we will make it happen for you. And on this positive note, bye everybody. And thank you, Charles. You were amazing.
Thank you. Well done. I'm sorry I talk over you too much. Oh, here we go.
Ding. Here we go. Yeah, we just did it.
We did. We definitely. We got there.
We got there.
It's like a tradition now.
It is like a tradition. All right. Thank you, everybody, and see you soon.